Hello, I'm your host, Chris Garris, and you're watching The Transporter Room. Today, I have the pleasure to speak with meteorologist Katie Nickolaou, who is one of the hosts from the Star Trek and Chill podcast. Thank you for coming on the show today, Katie. So, how are you
Oh, thank you
doing?
for having me. I'm
Oh,
doing
well,
great.
good. Yeah, I guess as we were talking earlier, you've probably been up for a little while already today, I'm thinking.
Just a bit. Yeah, usually depending on what the weather's doing. Sometimes I start
Oh,
the day at midnight, sometimes it's earlier, it's crazy.
I thought midnight. I guess it depends on the weather, but wow, I figured it was like 2 or 3. I assumed 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning is the standard, or is that not?
Usually it depends. See, for me, I have an hour
Oh.
commute into work, so I got to make sure I get up
Oh.
extra early.
Oh, lordy.
It's a
Well,
lot.
it's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot. Well, but at least it's not like a commute to New York or something. I'm pretty
Fair
sure
enough.
not that crazy.
No, it's
But
just driving up to Lansing, Michigan, so all I have are deer and snowplows, so
ooh, yeah. Well, I'm in Texas. I'm in South Texas. You may or may not know,
Ooh,
but still. So I don't have to worry about the snow. But
yet.
deer, oh gosh, I know. I Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I've been looking at the weather. I don't think we're not going to get snow down here, but it's supposed to get pretty dang cold after looking
Mhm.
at some of the forecast. And I have a kind of an aside, but I have after the 2021 freeze that basically froze the
Right.
entire state.
Yeah.
I got a whole home generator so that I will not
Nice.
should not have to deal with that. Plus hurricanes, it's going to help, and it's not working at the moment.
No. Get the hand crank ready.
Well, yeah, so I called them Monday and said, y'all were out here Friday working on this, and it's still not working now. And I really want it working before the cold gets here next week. I mean, I
Yeah.
don't think it's going to be an issue, but that's also why I have the dang thing so that I don't have to worry about it as an issue.
Exactly.
You know, um, so yeah, no, that's well, yeah, and I mean, I where you live, I mean, I've seen some of your videos recently and posts. It's already snow and ice and all that
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
It's nice and chilly. I wish it was
Oh my
colder.
god.
We just aren't getting the snow with the cold air, and it's hurting my soul.
Oh my gosh. Well, why don't you go out and eat a icicle?
Yeah. No. Please don't do that! I'm a meteorologist, I should know. When icicles form, it's from water that melts off of your roof and runs down the side of a building. Well, here's the thing. You know what else is on your roof? Bird poop. A lot of it. And that water picks it up and freezes it in the ice. You're eating poop.
It is actually nice to finally meet you virtually face to face instead of in the live chat on Friday nights. Um,
Yes.
because that is a oh boy, that can be that's fun and it can get lively on those chats,
Heck yes. Oh,
as you
Chat
know.
Pack knows how to keep things going. It's
Oh, I do. Oh, we
amazing.
do. Oh, we do. We do. We get it going. Um, but just to learn a little bit about you. So I've always wondered, what sparked your interest to become a meteorologist? I mean,
Yeah. Well, it's a fun story because every meteorologist, well, pretty much every meteorologist I know, gets into it at a fairly young age because we all have a storm story or like an encounter with a
mhm.
storm. And for me, it was when I was about 5, and my family and I were driving back pre-cell phone weather apps, but coming back to my house, and all of a sudden there was a big storm, and we ended up going right
Ooh,
through it, and there was so much rain and wind, and I'm pretty sure there was even hail, so we had to actually
ooh.
stop on the side of the road, and the wind was blowing and the lightning was going, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, not realizing I was in danger because I'm just a kid. And then we get
You're just
home.
a kid.
Exactly. When we get home and we turn on the TV, and this was 5 minutes later, and they're like, "Oh yeah, here's the rotation track. It went right over I-94 over Verona Road," and I'm like, That's
Oh my
where
god.
we were. What? And yeah, so that really got me going about storms. And then fast forward a little bit, 2010, tornado hits my grandparents' house, 2011, a tornado hits my
Oh.
house. Mind you, this is all in Michigan. So I'm like, this
Wait,
is a
that's not typical.
sign.
Well, that's not typical, really. Y'all are not in real Tornado Alley or anything like that.
No, Michigan seems to have like a little mini tornado alley. It kind of cuts up from, well, wait, there we go. Because mirrored image. It cuts up from basically South Bend, Indiana, and then cuts right
Okay.
across the center through Kalamazoo, Battle Creek, and then up towards Flint, Saginaw area. And I
Mhm.
just happened to be in that region. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, it was kind of like, okay, cool. They're like EF1, EF0. I'm gonna keep it's not enough to deter me, so I'm just gonna keep on studying this, and, I did. I
That's
started
good.
watching the Weather Channel with meteorologist Jim Cantori and,
Mhm.
all just reading all the weather books I could, and, my parents, bless them, they didn't think it was weird, so they're like, "Keep doing it." So,
Hey, that's cool. When it comes to the weather, I know how, like, when we were in the public safety center, there came a point in time when we had to say, "Sorry, if people were calling,
yeah,
we can't go out." They cannot send, EMS,
yeah,
law enforcement because it's now dangerous. It's too dangerous even for them.
yeah.
And I'm just curious, do y'all have to would y'all have to stay for an event like that? Even if you were in the eye of the storm and not just, on the outer edges or anything? Just kind of
Yeah?
curious.
Yeah, so I think I haven't worked at a station that's had to deal with
Yeah.
hurricanes because I was in Iowa and then moved back to
Yeah.
Michigan. But yeah, a lot of times, we're the line of defense. So, for example, if there was a tornado coming, my last station, uh,
Mhm.
sometimes, like, meteorologically, you can get a rough estimate on how strong the winds are based on how high the debris has been lofted or the size of the
Yeah.
debris ball. Like, you can get a rough estimate of the storm you're dealing with. And so I had a plan, I'm pretty sure it was unofficial, but, our station manager or our news director and our chief, they lived literally next to the station for a while, and,
Yeah.
we were just like, "Alright, well, we're just gonna run to your house, and I'll stay back as long as I can." But my
Wow.
news station, the one here in Michigan, the basement's a fallout shelter, and they actually have a broadcast
Oh.
studio in the basement. So, like, no matter what, we're good. But
Oh,
I
that's
hear
cool.
about the stations like in Florida where you don't have basements. Like, there's got to be like a reinforced room or hopefully something where you can stay on the air. But I imagine
True.
if it gets bad enough, you just evacuate and
Really.
then you bump the broadcast signal from your
Correct.
station.
True, and that makes sense. Yeah, I mean, that's when you think about the National Hurricanes, Center in Florida, that thing has to be a bunker
Oh
to be
yeah,
able to and it would be I'm not gonna it'd be kinda cool to go see it and just see how what it is built like because it has to be able to withstand a Category 5 hurricane or as close to
yeah,
one as possible, I would think.
yeah. Well, and then you have
So
like the EF5s in Oklahoma, and you got the National Weather
yeah.
Service in Norman, and you're just like, love that you guys built it in the area that gets those tornadoes, but also why did you build it in the area that gets the tornadoes?
True. Very true. But
It's
they
because you
gotta be
can't.
there.
The weather nerds, we got to see stuff.
True. Well, and and it's funny when you telling me your story, um, it now kind of fits in with one of the a photo I saw of you with Helen Hunt and Dorothy.
Yes.
I was like, "That sounds very familiar to Twister."
It is, yes. Well, and that's one thing that they got right in that movie is that, yeah, people who are interested in the weather and tornadoes, they have an encounter with the weather and tornadoes that sticks in their mind when they're very young.
Mhm.
So they got that part right. Other questionable science out there, but otherwise they got it right.
Hey, it's a movie. They have to they gotta do what they gotta do. They gotta make that money,
Fair enough.
and,
They did make it
fair enough.
more they made it more scientifically accurate than I
Good.
think Twisters, the sequel. You
I
can't
just I
stop
honest
tornadoes with diaper fill. Just letting people know right now.
Yeah, I finally watched watched it, and I'm gonna say I tried to watch it, and but I actually fell asleep while I was watching it. For
Oh,
whatever
no.
reason, it has and I'm gonna give it a try again. Um,
Yeah.
it I just it's kinda like what you're saying, I don't know, there was something about it, it felt even faker. than, the
Yeah.
first one.
Well,
I mean, it
one,
was good.
everyone was hot, and that's just not the case in our like we're normal science people. We aren't that beautiful, prim and proper. There,
Yeah.
if we're chasing storms, I'm not wearing makeup. But
That's
unless I already
funny.
had it on from doing the morning show. But then
Yeah.
there's also it's like, some of the science is a little like, for example, spoiler, when the oil refinery gets hit, that
Mhm.
heat would totally mess with the tornadoes formation. So,
Oh, it would?
oh yeah,
Ok
yeah, because you have to have that
okay.
balance of inflow of
Yeah.
warm, moist air, and then you have the cool,
Mhm.
dry air sinking. And then if you just have an explosion of heat, it could temporarily disrupt the funnel as it goes down
Oh,
towards the ground. Whereas, like the mesocyclone and the whole spinning in the cloud would probably still stay intact depending on the size of the explosion. That's why people
oh,
who say
that's
you can nuke storms or like nuke hurricanes to get them to go away, it's
mhm.
like a single hurricane can exude over 10,000 nuclear bombs worth of energy in its lifetime, so we don't
When
stand a
you I
chance.
know. When you posted that on I'm gonna call it Twitter,
Yeah. Oh,
but
yeah, it's Twitter.
when I saw that post, and I think, you posted it, and I even think Ginger Z had a comment about that as well, I was like, "Oh my god." Like, you really
Yeah.
didn't realize how many the equivalent of this power. I mean, I know they're powerful, but not
Oh, yeah.
10,000.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
that blew my mind. That was
Yep.
amazing. And we do have to talk about your love for animals,
Yes.
and we're going to. I just found a good little clip here of a lovely little pooch that got the well. It's the only one I have found. I'm pretty sure there was way more, and I was scrolling. Like, oh, that's the first one I'm going to take today. So here is our pal Buster.
Oh,
Hey
yes.
Buster, the forecast is boring, so let's take a trip to Pallet Town. What do you say? We have a wild forecast that just appeared, and we need to figure out what we're gonna do. We have some options. We could lick it, we could sniff it, or we could forecast for it. What do you say, bud? Yeah, let's do the forecast, and we can actually break it down into the different times of the day. Morning, we're in the 60s, afternoon, the 70s, later on, we're in the 80s. That was a super effective forecast, and you know what? If people want to adopt you, they can find you at the Capillary Humane Society today. We can take you outside in the nice weather.
Yeah, that's a fun thing with my job is we have graphics that occasionally they just go feral with, and they make a Pokemon graphic. They made there's an Oregon Trail
Okay.
graphic that I'm eventually going to use. Um yeah, no, and I do this thing called the Friday Forecast, where
Uh
every
huh.
Friday there's an animal at our local humane society that needs to be adopted, and they bring it in,
Hmm.
and I do the forecast with them. And I started that actually when I was out in Sioux City, Iowa. It's been about 5 years now, I wanna say, and every animal I've ever had on has been adopted. We have a 100% adoption
Oh.
success rate. So,
Oh, that's so awesome.
that's my
It's
favorite
worth it
thing.
then. And I only brought in 30 seconds of this video. I eh, how when I click, you're going to see why I'm saying how were y'all
Yeah.
able to do this entire thing in one take?
And now, the Nations of the World forecast with Rob Paulson.
Ahem. United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru, Republic Dominican, Cuba, Caribbean, Greenland, El Salvador, too, Puerto Rico, Colombia, Venezuela, Honduras, Guyana, and still Guatemala, Bolivia, then Argentina, and Ecuador, Chile, Brazil, Costa Rica, Belize, Nicaragua, Bermuda, Bahamas, Tobago, San Juan, Paraguay, Uruguay, Suriname, and French Guiana, Barbados, and Guam.
Well, and that was utter insanity because so
Yeah.
this is at Motor City Comic Con in Detroit, and I had set it up with him. I had actually met him earlier in the year. Well, I had met him years ago, and we just kind of have been mutual followers and stuff. And then I saw that he was going to be at Fan Expo Chicago. I was headed to a Blues Brothers convention that same day, so I was like, I'm just going to swing by and say hi to him, and
Blues
got
Brothers
talking with
too?
him. Oh yeah, it was at Joliet Prison. It was amazing. It was amazing. But yeah, no, I went up to his booth and I saw him. I was like, I don't know if you recognize me. I'm a meteorologist. He's like, Katie, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh, this is so cool. I said, I know you're gonna be in Motor City. I know you're a Detroit man, you're a Michigan man. Do you want to do a forecast with me when you're there? And he's like, I would love to. You message me when we get closer to the date. I was like, great. Originally, I was hoping he could get into the studio, but then I remembered Lansing is not Detroit. And so that would have been a long drive for him. So I thought, all right, I can do this. I have a chroma key portable. I can just
Mhm.
bring a green screen to him. And so I get there and start of the day, and I'm like, just whenever you have time, I don't want to interrupt your table. I don't want to interrupt anything. And so we waited until literally the convention floor had closed. I was in his line. I was the last person. And it just so happened that all of the people who volunteered to help out and all the workers, they congregated in front of his booth for like their evening wrap up.
Yeah.
And so it's just me and him and this gaggle of people. And I'm trying to go as fast as I can because they're like shutting off the lights and stuff. And I'm like, all right, Rob, if this is okay with you, I'll do a quick little intro and then we'll do the Nations of the World forecast and then we'll call it a night. And he's like, absolutely, let's go. And so we didn't practice. We didn't practice together at all. He's
Wow.
god tier of voice acting and just such an
Mhm.
amazing man. And he went into it. And I'm like, I've known this song since I was in college. I did it for our talent show. Like, I listen to it all the time. I can't sing worth a dime, but hopefully it'll come off as like a harmony rather than like
Oh,
me singing
wow.
bad. And so yeah, we started doing that, and all of the people who were volunteering, they all just turned around. They're just staring at us. So we have this crowd of like 30 people who were just like United States, Canada, Mexico, Panama, Haiti, Jamaica, Peru. And it was so cool. And I got to use it for a story at my station. I put it on virtually, but like that really just made my heart so happy.
Oh, good. Yeah, I when I saw that scrolling up and I saw that, and I don't always click stuff, but it was one of the ones that just started playing on Twitter X, and I read the headline, and I just I'm like, oh my god, how the hell did they do that in one take
Mhm.
with no
Well, and all those
practice?
forecasts were accurate to that day. I actually forecasted for the
Ah,
capitals of all the nations of the world and made the graphics myself, and
oh
it
my
was
god.
a lot.
Yeah, that had to be a lot.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, and I'm
Well,
just standing here panicked because I had a new microphone set. I'm filming it on my phone because we didn't have any like of the equipment for for the TV stuff. So at least my phone, I upgraded it. So and of course it's green, so now you can't see it. But yeah, got that, and
mhm,
it worked out pretty well, I'd say, for
mhm.
having a new mic and phone and doing it
Oh, it
solo. I
was
didn't
it
have a
was
camera
great.
op, so I was just like, bless his booth attendants. They're like, "We'll get the shot for you and everything." I'm like, "Just make sure it's recording, and we are good."
Oh, that's
So
cool.
yeah,
That's so well, oh my gosh. Well, that's cool. This has been really enlightening to me and learning, which is what I like. So I'm trying to do this as well because,
hey,
yes, we're going to definitely get into the Star Trek stuff because that's what this is all about. But when I've that what has got me into doing this was watching these other channels like Decon Chamber and Shuttlepod Show and all those. That you know, they're not just going, and even Clone Star podcast, they're not just going straight to the Trek, because and I find that more interesting. Like, what do you do? Like, and then because I guarantee you, in some way, shape, or form, Star Trek has played a role in you even becoming a scientist. And if maybe
yeah,
not right then when you were 5, but now it is probably well, now I know it has in some ways because
yeah,
some of the stuff I'm going to show you all here in a little bit, um, which is really interesting to see what these conventions do,
oh
like
yeah,
Comic Con and especially the creation ones, which is that's where that's going to be my next topic here is all of your fandoms.
yeah.
You have a lot.
There's so
Well,
many random
I
fandoms.
I say a lot, but you have attended. Did I see you post or talk about on Star Trek and Chill somewhere? I want to say I saw a number of 16 events that you went to in
Oh gosh,
2024.
yeah, this year's Comic-Cons, I went to everything from C2E2 in Chicago to Kalamazoo Comic-Con, Grand Rapids Comic-Con, 2 in Detroit, Columbus Comic-Con, Indianapolis Comic-Con, Capital City
Oh,
Comic Con in Lansing, San Diego Comic Con, Star Trek Las Vegas, Star Trek Chicago, and I'm sure I'm missing a couple more.
wow.
It's
You are a
crazy.
traveler.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. Well, and it's fun because when I was out in Sioux City, I mean, that's Iowa, Nebraska, South Dakota. For anyone who isn't aware, there's nothing to do much. I mean, there's a great nature and everything, but Comic
Yeah.
Con wise, it's a desert. I had my local
Mhm.
comic book store, shout out to Acme Comics, and that was my lifeline. So
That's too
instead,
funny.
now that I'm back in Michigan, it's like you
Uh-huh.
have Chicago, you have Indianapolis, you have Columbus, you have
Mhm.
Grand Rapids, you have Detroit. It's like I could just bing bong all around them, and
Ah.
it works.
See, now that's really cool, and I'm kinda jealous about that, but for that reason, obviously, but so, like, this year or 20 yeah, oh, no, last year, 2024. That's right, we're in
Oh gosh, yeah,
2025
we're
now.
new. New year.
We're new. Yeah, happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
But so last year, was my first time to actually go to any conventions of any sort in a
Really?
very, 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 very long time. And so I'm just those other
Nice.
ones I'm not even gonna chalk up to they're just they'll go so long ago. But so I first time I went to was in San Antonio back in October. I went to Space Con, which
Ooh, nice.
is I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, but it was not just a it's kind of it's a I guess a Comic Con for space, but they had
Yeah.
Star Trek,
Uh-huh.
Battlestar, Star Wars, and let's see here, Stargate for sure. Those are all the ones that I know I can remember them
Nice.
being there. And so I basically went, I bought the 3-day pass, but I'm not gonna lie, it was a little bit overwhelming. And so
Oh yeah.
basically for the first time, and so Friday was all basically all Star Trek. And so I
Nice.
didn't really get to do much. They didn't have a do a whole lot of panels. I mean, they had them, but I was s- doing the whole autograph thing, and I have a
Nice.
stack now of them. And what's funny, I got a message last night from Dave Gregory because I put on the one of our discords. I said, I'm not gonna get to go to STLV this year still, but
Aw.
2026 I'm going. I
Nice.
am going. I should not be. I should be retired by then. Um, and I said, but then, and what prompted me was like, they're going to have Roxanne Dawson's going to be there this coming year or this year.
Yes.
And of the Voyager cast, so and that was what was so awesome about SpaceCon because it was right before they were kind of using it as a launch for the Voyager documentary.
Right.
So everybody, with the exception of Roxanne Dawson and Robert Picardo and Ethan Phillips, were in San Antonio. So
Wow.
I was able to get, you know, Janeway, Paris, Harry, Seven of
Aw.
Nine, and Chakotay. I was able to get all their
Nice.
signatures. So I'm just missing.
Yeah,
And I
Beltran's
got,
hard
and
to
then I went,
pin down at a con, so that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. And then I got, and then I went to Trek to Dallas in November, and then I was able to get Ethan Phillips.
Nice.
So I'm only missing Roxanne and the doctor. And so I
Oh
just put
my
that out
god.
there, and Dave said, "Hey, do you want one? Do you have something for her to sign, or do you
Mhm.
just want a headshot?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'll just take a headshot. I don't have anything. I don't because I don't have the collector's stuff, anything like that,
Yeah.
because I just don't want to. I mean, if I had a room, I could do it. That I could put it in, sure, but I don't have an extra room because I would require a dedicated room for all that type of stuff.
Oh yeah. I feel ya. My room has become that room.
Yeah. And I'm trying not to make that happen. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
just gonna stick to the pictures for now. Um,
Nice.
and so, but yeah, and so when I was pulling up some stuff here, if I remember correctly, I think you're a Captain Janeway fan.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna click play on this real quick. I have a feeling you look pretty excited.
There is. Well, where are you coming from?
New York.
New York? You want? Is
But even I flew to Spain last week.
terrible.
Turbulence.
You're getting caught up in the jet stream. Yep. That was all so insane. Like, the odds of that happening are infinitely low. But what was great
Correct.
was that was at San Diego Comic-Con.
Yep.
But his great friend John Orchiola, he works for Screen Rant.
Mhm.
And so he's doing all these interviews and things. And we had dinner and we were talking and stuff. And he was like, hey, swing by the suite at this time. I'm like, okay, cool. And so I'm walking past, and the Hageman brothers and Kate Mulgrew walk out with John, and the Hagemans, they recognize me from social media. They're like, oh my gosh, Katie Nickolaou. Kate, do you know Katie? I'm like, hold on, this should be the
Oh,
opposite. What?
oh, what?
This is so cool. And so we were talking and stuff, and I had mentioned, I'm a meteorologist, and I appreciate
Mhm.
being an advocate for science, especially in the
Mhm.
show and outside of it. And then
Yeah.
she's like, the Hagens were like, well, here, you got to get a picture with her, which, oh my gosh, I'm in a Has Been Hotel shirt and cosplay. And I'm like, oh gosh, I really
Yeah, I couldn't get that picture loaded up, but I have the picture that if you
well,
with you together of her.
well, and the funny thing is, we were going to get the picture, and she wraps her arm around me, and she's like, wait a second, I have a question for you. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. And so they already had the camera up, and I think it was Dan. He swiped the camera over and pressed record. And, like, I hadn't asked him to
Oh.
record or anything, he just did it and messaged
Oh,
it to me, and I'm
wow.
just like, "You guys are the greatest and kindest people, oh my gosh." And,
That
yeah,
is so cool.
and she was so genuinely interested in it too. I'm just like,
Mhm.
"This is so cool."
Oh my gosh. That's oh my god. That's just unheard of.
Yeah.
But that's the thing. Everybody in our well, I don't like to use I shouldn't say everybody, but the majority of people that are in our Star Trek groups and everything are just so nice and willing to
Oh,
do
yeah.
anybody. I mean, like I said, I just put that message out there last night, and Dave out of nowhere says, "Hey, what do you?" I'm like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
like,
Dave's a sweetheart. Oh my
I
gosh.
know I cannot wait to meet him, but it's gonna be another year probably, unless I some random other event happens. But so I didn't have well, I would say my experience was not quite as unscripted like yours was with Kate, but at SpaceCon, Garrett was there, and at the time I was a Delta Flyer member, and
Nice.
um, so I did the whole I went and got my autograph and all that, and then some stuff I've learned from talking to other people is when they're at panels, there's panels are going on, you can always go get autographs, and they're usually the lines are a little shorter, which is true. I've definitely learned that.
Oh, yeah.
But also when the event is wrapping up and they're still at their table, so I just actually happened to be walking around, and he knew me because I was at the time I was an admiral level, so we have monthly Zooms. We'd all have a monthly Zoom with him and
Oh,
Robbie,
cool.
which was cool. And so, but I went back over there and just it finally gives up because I tried and he had to get his, I think it might have been Derek. I can't remember who it was, but the person who was with him pulled him away because he had to go do a photo op or whatever. I'm like, dang
Oh,
it. So, but again, I just walking around doing other things. And he was back at his table and they was like dead. I was like, I'm gonna
nice.
go get it this time. And went over there and proceeded to be able to sit there. And he had his guy, hey, pull up a chair. We all sat there, me, Garrett, actually some of the workers, and we just visited for like an hour.
That's so cool.
Oh, that was so cool. And he has some stories. Oh my God. He
Yeah.
is a talker and it is so good.
I
Um,
love that.
oh, it was great. And he has one story that he shared with us, and I've also heard it on his Zooms, but about Voyager in general. And it was surprising, honestly, that when the series released, the range of how people felt about it. It went
Yeah.
from they loved it to they eventually had to get extra security at the studio because
Yeah.
they had threats and
It's
stuff. And
crazy.
I was like, wow, that's just nuts. But
Yeah.
that's still the
Which
way of the world is.
if you think about it, in Star Trek and the lore, everything with Star Trek, Voyager was the most removed from what like people hold as the holy grail of Trek in that era because it was in
Yeah,
the Delta Quadrant. And so
yeah.
it's like, why would you be mad about anything they do? It has nothing to affect what you think is more core Star
Mhm.
Trek. It's like,
Well, yeah, and and they were so yeah, I mean, and that was actually so it took me a bit to get into Voyager, but I eventually just loved it, and it was a
oh
great
yeah.
show. Um, Enterprise is still my preferred. If I'm gonna rank them for me, it's Enterprise. Um,
Nice.
it's just I don't know. We'll get into that in a little bit lower, but I
Scott
just
Bakula's
Enterprise.
phenomenal.
Oh god. Um, there was so yeah, but on back onto the conventions and whatnot. Um, I did. Oh my god, I was talking to someone just recent, like a couple days ago, and they asked me if I went to one of the panels on the Kardashev scale because they had two astrophysicists at Trek to Dallas. I was like, I did not
Nice.
get to go because I was doing this or that. I didn't want to miss whatever. I was focused on that, not panels. But I saw that you presented at STLV and
Star Trek
Chicago, right?
Chicago. Yep,
Oh,
and yep.
I thought it was STLV also.
I did do a science quiz show at STLV, but the main weather panel was
Okay.
at Chicago. I'm hoping I
Okay.
actually should message them and see if I can do it at STLV this year because I think that'd be fun.
Oh yeah. And that's what I like about especially the creations. They actually bring in the people that are in this industry, like the science industry,
Oh,
like
yeah.
yourself and whatnot. And I saw your topic was warp speed. Okay.
Oh,
Give
weather at
us
warp.
like weather at warp. Okay. Give us like the maybe 30-second overview of what that was about.
Yeah, so being the meteorologist that I am, I decided to go through and talk about some of the weather in Star Trek, whether it's actual weather or very much fiction. We broke through
Mm-hmm.
it all and described why it's real, why it's fake, how it could become reality, and just had
Mm-hmm.
some fun. Plus, we talked about the Sub Rosa from TNG, so that's always a riveting conversation.
Hmm. Well. Oh man, that is so cool.
It's
Yeah, that
fun.
it's fun. That's why I'm ready to go back to and I still got my fingers crossed that they bring something back to Texas in
Yeah.
2025. I keep on every now and then when we're on one of our roundtables or FFAs. I'll before we start recording, we're just chit chatting, and I'll be like, "Hey Ryan, we come back to Texas? Go to Austin, maybe?"
Hey, hey.
Back to Austin, and he just, he'll just kind of smile and doesn't say anything. I'm like, oh, just
Uh-huh.
tell us. Don't be all
Austin
stingy with that information.
Austin would be pretty good. Like,
And
if you're
that's
gonna
what
go
I
to any
think.
place for a con.
Well, and that's no, and that's exactly what I was thinking. We were actually talking about that. That wasn't him, but a group of us were talking about that in Dallas. And actually, I might have been talking to I almost said Katie Nickolaou, but that's you. No, Katie Wicker. Katie Wicker, one of the producers for the Decon Chamber. And honestly, it makes sense from a logistics standpoint because at least for this state, because Austin's basically Central Texas. It's in the middle of the
Mhm.
state.
Yeah,
So it's a 4 hour, 3 to 4 hour drive from Dallas, 3 hours from Houston, 45 minutes from San Antonio, and again for me, 3 hours as well instead of
yeah.
the 7 hour drive that I had to take to Dallas. Um,
Mhm.
so and it's also, more of it's the entertainment capital for Texas. So
Yeah.
it just feels like it would be a good location. And they already do an event in Austin. I don't remember what
It's
it's called.
supernatural, right? Because 'Cause I'm
Yeah, I
pretty
think it's
sure
a
that's where
yes,
oh,
it's
yeah.
supernatural.
Yeah, because
It is a
the
supernatural event.
guy who plays Dean, I think, or Sam, one of the 2 has a
Yeah.
brewery, so
Okay. Yeah, I never got into. It's not that I didn't like the series. I when it started, I wasn't watching it, and so I've just never sat down to watch Supernatural
mhm.
yet. I need to, um,
Yeah.
but I watched several other shows that are around it, like Smallville,
Oh,
um,
yeah.
The Flash, Supergirl.
All the CW shows.
Yes, yes, yes. The CW. which prior to that was the WB. So I watched them when it was all the WB and then CW.
Nice.
Um, and so I guess one more thing about the all of our lovely fandoms though is you're also a big Doctor Who fan. I'm
Very
gathering.
much so, yes. I really
I
am. I started that actually when I was in Sioux City. The
okay.
Conflict Star people, they're very big into Doctor Who, and so they were like, "Katie,
Hmm.
you have to watch Doctor Who. Here's the DVDs. We'll give you them. Just watch the show." I'm like, "All right," and so I did, and now I'm firmly in Camp Capaldi and Tennant and Smith and all the Doctors.
Yeah. I'm like, no, I, I'm not gonna watch it. And then I had a friend one night, and she loved Doctor Who, and she picked an episode, and said, "Let's just start with this episode." And I'm not gonna because I couldn't tell you what episode it was. All I can remember it had something to do with NASA and all this stuff, and they were trying to do something. The doctor was doing something with in Houston and NASA to keep some mission for going, but it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
enough to spark my interest, and I was like, "Huh, it's actually not too bad." And so I
Welcome
went
to our
ahead.
cult. Welcome to our cult.
S- s- Damn it, yes. So I went and it's either on whatever streaming service it was on back when I started watching it, and I started from Peter Eccleston until I something got me out of it, or I stopped watching, but I finished it with Matt Smith. And
Oh, okay.
I've watched some of the ones since him, but I don't know if I lost BBC America. There was something
Mm.
that made me that interrupted my watch pattern, and
Ah,
now I'm gonna have to take the time to restart that from
yeah.
that one because I mean, so far for me, the doctors that I have watched, I definitely Tennant.
Yeah. You
He's
know,
mine.
I
I
love
like
David
Matt
Tennant
Smith.
and his work. Oh my gosh.
Yes. Oh my god, and that was the hardest thing to watch him. Two series that he has been in outside of Doctor Who. He's been in a lot more, but that I have watched, and it's just so hard to. Well, that's not what the Doctor do. When I was watching, is it Jessica? Oh my
Jessica
gosh,
Jones. Oh my
Jessica Jones,
gosh. Kilgrave. Yes.
and I'm like, that was just. I'm like, that's not the Doctor. It was easier to watch him in the no, is it the Omen?
Good Omens.
Good Omens, because that was just funny.
Yeah. Oh my
That
gosh.
was
Him as Crowley.
hilarious.
That's an example of perfect casting. Is Good
Hmm.
Omens. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that was that. I haven't finished it, but that was I watched everything until the new season, and I haven't gotten back into it. But oh my god, yeah. So and that's just not him. Honestly, when you see any character that has unfortunately been in a series for so long, and then they try to get out of it. I mean, you can say, Daniel Radcliffe, all the Harry Potter people.
Mhm.
Once they were done, they had to break out of because you get typecasts, and
Yeah.
so.
Oh yeah.
But oh my
Well, David
gosh,
Tennant's over here. He's like, I'm gonna be the Doctor. I'm gonna be Scrooge McDuck. I'm gonna be a demon.
yeah,
I'm gonna be a villain. It's like,
yes.
sir.
Yeah, and so like I said, so I did get sucked in to the world, and I did like it. God, I would love to have a TARDIS.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh
and a
yeah.
TARDIS would be nice. Um, so, and this is going to be for the people that are not Star Trek and chill fans, that maybe they will become one and join the Seventh Rule and all the other little things that we are members of. Okay, I have not caught myself, even myself personally, did not. I came in the middle, or I came in as the fruit and the food
Yes.
adventure began. What? Give us a quick. How did this come about? And I do
Yeah.
have a video. I do have one of them pulled up here in a minute. I'm going to show, but let's get some background on this.
Yes. So basically, I let slip during one of our podcasts, one of the streams, that I don't eat fruit. I hadn't had most fruits. I like apples. I like grapes. that's pretty much it. And they were all blown away. They're like, "Wait, you haven't had blueberries?" I'm like, "No, you haven't had strawberries?" "No, you haven't." And like
I
the
know.
list
I
goes on
was
and on.
too. I was like, "Shouldn't
Yeah.
have a
So then
banana?"
well, we started it out with like, do you like have you try it on a stream? I'm like, okay, cool. And then it turned into this weekly thing where we have a poll and people vote on what
Yep.
fruit I'm gonna try next. And so now I've had like the regular, the blueberry, the strawberry, kiwi, oranges, tried oranges. And then we're
Avocados.
getting more into the like figs and
Mhm.
persimmons and like the stranger fruits. I think I still need to do figs, kiwi or figs, dragon fruit, I think we're gonna try some other random like ones. I
I
tried like plums.
Uh-huh. You did an avocado. I remember that.
Ah, yes. Did the
I
avocados,
I
star
don't
fruit.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I don't remember if we voted or not on Friday night because you had to leave early.
I just scoot
And
out
so
early. Yeah.
yeah, so but let me see here. I'm gonna share my screen. This was last Friday's um Star Trek and Chill. Let's see here. Is this the right one? Yep. Okay, let's share that. And I think I have it queued up just about right.
Shot. So I just walked into the store. I saw a pea. I was like, "Is it?" And it said persimmons, but it was like they lined all the tags up, and then there's just piles of fruit. I'm like, "This one looks like."
Okay,
So I
but
went.
hang on. Here, oh God, you already did. I was gonna say, Katie, the big surprise
Yeah.
is I also have a persimmon. So if our fruits match, you know that you got the correct fruit.
Okay.
Oh boy.
I need because this is mine.
Pressure's on.
This is
It
the
looked too much like a tomato to me.
but
Yeah.
Look at that.
It does look like that.
They're identical.
Let's go.
I
It
love it.
does look
There
like a
was one
tomato,
too, like
honestly.
top pop.
It's so true.
Yeah,
Okay.
the
I'm
top
not gonna
popped
wait.
off that one. Yeah, that was fun because a lot of people, they're afraid to try new foods and stuff. You stick a camera in front of me, I'll do most anything. So it was like I wouldn't have gone out and tried them on my own, but they're like, "Hey, do it for the
Yeah.
stream." I'm like, "Okay, I'll do it for the stream."
Yeah.
And so it's
That's too
I've
funny.
only had a few bad ones that have made me just be like, but
Oh, I
otherwise,
remember.
I've found some good
Oh,
ones.
I know
Pomegranate's
the
amazing.
avocado. Yeah, the avocado, you were like a 1, 0,
Yeah. Oh.
negative. And there, I don't like, I'm going to say this as well. And I'm going to get, this will probably get I'll get, blacklisted, demonetized. I'm going to monetize it, but I'll get demonetized before I get demonetized. I don't like avocados either. And I live in
Oh,
Texas.
there we go.
So guacamole is like, king. I just don't care for it. I just have
Yeah.
never cared for it. So
I will go with queso and then salsa, and then if I have to, guac at the end, or just like plain chips.
yeah.
I like plain chips. I'm a basic kind of gal.
Now we're going to get into the meat of the stuff here. We're getting to the real nitty gritty of Star Trek. So I think we kind of touched it already, but I'm going to, if I could do a poll, I'd put a poll up that says, "What is Katie's favorite series?" And I would put Voyager, TNG, and DS9 on there, and just pick like Discovery. And I would vote. My vote would be Voyager, but I don't know if I would be right or not.
Personally, yeah, Voyager's probably my favorite. Because it's hard to pick because TNG is where I got started, which was in a very backwards. I started with season 7, episode Gambit, part 2.
Oh,
so it's like,
wow.
what the heck?
Girl,
but
you were like almost done with the series
yeah.
at that point.
Oh yeah. Well, this is like in the mid 2000s, during the middle of, well, actually late 2000s, right as the JJ verse was getting going. So it had been a drought. But no,
Yes, there had been.
Voyager's got that special place in my heart. Strange New Worlds, Lower Decks, Prodigy. Oh my gosh, Prodigy. Being the Voyager fan that I am,
yes.
Prodigy season 2 was a feast.
It was awesome. It was so good.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. And see, now that's funny that you kind of say that because, you had Voyager when Prodigy which led to you really, really loving Prodigy. And I love Prodigy too.
Yeah.
But I started with TNG when it came out, actually. So TNG was the only series that I actually got to watch on broadcast when it was actually aired on TV.
Oh, wow.
Because of where I live, our market is the Corpus Christi market. And
Yep.
so they don't get we didn't have a UPN affiliate, we didn't have a WB affiliate. They barely had a Fox network and when they did get a Fox affiliate, it was on, it was like a low power UHF station. So you weren't getting it with even I'm like 30, 40 miles from where, Corpus is. So
Yeah.
if you didn't have even if you had an outside antenna, it had to be a big one. And the cable company wasn't carrying it either. So I got TNG and that was about it
Alright.
for a while. But eventually, when I could get satellite TV, Direct TV and Dish Network, I was able to request a waiver so that I could get UPN out of
Nice.
the New York and East Coast, the New York and LA feeds, so I could actually watch series, which they let me
Good.
watch Enterprise. And it wasn't. I didn't actually get to watch DS9 until it came out on streaming, and I watched it.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Hey.
I just didn't have the option, so and I
Yeah.
loved it. It was a great series. But Enterprise for me would be my number one show, and I think it's due to the fact I just loved watching. I didn't like watching them stumble, but
Yeah.
it was just it was entertaining
Mhm.
to get to see how humanity had to take its first steps to be a member
Right.
of, interstellar space. And,
Mhm.
the Vulcans kept on saying, "Are y'all really sure you're
Yeah,
ready to
are you
become?"
positive?
Well, no, and it's true. And also it's one of those series when the characters also had a lot of development because again, they had no rules. Well, they
Oh,
have rules,
yeah.
but they don't have the rules that you and I grew up with of the Prime Directive and all of that. And so and that's why it hurt Archer so much to have to,
Mhm.
first off, have to Paul on the bridge with him, looking over his
Yeah.
shoulder all the time, and her always saying, basically, well, that's not the way we did it as
Yeah.
Vulcans.
It's like, well.
Yeah, uh, and and he did fumble, but he also had probably some of the most growth of any captain out there
Oh,
because
yeah.
he had to learn.
Oh, yeah. No, that's one of the big drawing points for me to Enterprise is that it's not the polished Starfleet that we know of. It's not even the Federation
It's not
yet.
even Starfleet. Oh
So,
yeah, Starfleet. Yeah, no, it's not the Federation,
yeah.
and they were so wrong. I'm sorry. Well, first off, Trip's not dead,
No,
and
no,
they were
no.
so wronged by being cut so soon. But if you
Yeah.
ever watched the interview Scott Bakula did with Connor and Dom at the end of the
Mm.
first season
Yep.
of Decon, you know, they knew they were going to get cut. They had to wrap it up, and it just,
Mhm.
if they would have just gotten that fifth season, they would have done it. But
Yeah.
they've all three shared stories about because they were and I didn't know this till watching those episodes, they were the only series that was not in syndication because they
Yeah.
were broadcast
Yep.
and they would get bumped for of course they always have to share this story, but they were like they would get bumped for high school football in Texas. I'm like,
Oh, yeah?
I get it. I mean,
Dude,
I get
like
it.
that.
I get it, but still, um, so that's really hurt them
Yeah.
because of that. And so, uh, and then another episode that I thought was really good, and it's got um, I just love the way it ends. Honestly, it was Dear Doctor when the Enterprise runs into a society that's sent out people to try and find people that have warp
Yeah.
and they've got that disease or one of the prime race is dying and the one that was lower is actually evolving and he says Phlox, can you fix it? And he actually does find the cure but he doesn't want to give it to him because as he's having to just suck it and learn that they're not out there to play God. And
Yeah.
he tells Phlox, he goes, until we have some sort of a directive that tells us what we should or shouldn't do. And I just laughed and I was like, that's
Yep.
right. You need the prime directive. Um, So yeah, no, it's one of those. Yeah, it's one of my for that reason alone because they didn't have they barely had transporters. They didn't have photon torpedoes. They didn't have replicators. I mean, they had Chef. I would like to. I
Yeah.
bet he was. I think he was a good cook too. So
Yeah.
um, and so yeah, I don't know. It's those are some of my stuff, but so I guess so obviously Voyager's your your preferred series, but was there an episode that stood out to you that really sticks out?
Worst case scenario. I love that episode so much. It's the one where they find a hollow program of like what if Chakotay had like a marquee uprising.
Oh, that's right.
And
I remember that
Seska
one.
comes back and oh
Oh
my
god.
gosh. I love what if scenarios. And
Uh-huh.
I wish more Star Trek series would do that. Like they kind of do that with the Mirror Universe and stuff, but man, there's something about worst case scenario where it's like you actually have the actors playing the characters
Yeah.
in this like alternate situation. I love that.
Now, I'm trying to remember if it was worst case scenario or if there was another one when I don't think no, it wasn't worst case because that's season. I'm trying to pull that's season 3. So no, it's not the one. Another one that I would say is kind of like that was when 7 of 9 is ingesting all of the. I think she's taking all the logs.
Oh yeah,
and she kind of thinks that there's a conspiracy on the ship. That was I actually like that one. Yeah. Well, no, you're right, man. I do like the and that's oh my god, not Prodigy. This Lower Deck season 5.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
All the multiverse stuff.
Bring back the people. The only thing I wish Lower Decks would have at least one more season because they have to get Scott Bakula on that. I need more Archer.
Oh, I know. And here's the thing: since they were able to get Jolene.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was the limit in the sky, and now that's like I think the only other person is Avery Brooks. Like that's the only other untouchable person in Trek that I feel would be the hardest. Oh my god.
Yeah. But that would be. They've got Jolene. If they could get, I think Scott Bakula's he would do it if the story was correct and if the storyline was good. Yeah. I think he would do it on a heartbeat.
Yeah.
But Avery Brooks though.
He'd be the hard ask. It would have to be. You'd have to ask him. Oh gosh, yeah, it'd be a really hard ask to do. But I think if you got the right story,
yes,
and like it really did accentuate, like just
yeah. And I think
they could get it.
And I think if one of our buddies that we know was to take that story to him, who just also happened to be his son.
Yeah.
Maybe, just maybe, Sirach could convince him to come back. Well, see, and that was a lot of people were just wondering if we were going to get Jake and Cisco in this when they started doing the multiverse stuff. And that's it. The next time we're on a round table and Sirach is there, I'm going to have to ask him. And of course, it won't ever get broadcast, but so I'm going to have to ask him, like, did you ever get approached to come back?
Yeah.
I don't know. Because, man, that would be so awesome. That would have been, I mean, don't get me wrong. What they did was phenomenal. With,
yeah.
And I remember Garrett was telling us after he could finally talk about it, he said, oh my God, that was the hardest thing to not be able to say, that he was on Lower Decks for all those months. It was just brutal. And then he's got 2 pips.
You're all still ensigns?
I know. And that's the one thing we've learned. Do not give a Kim an extra pip because he goes evil. Oh my God.
Oh, that was a fun episode.
That was an awesome episode. And so, okay, so let's see. I'm thinking of another question to ask you to see if I can stump you. I doubt I will. This is an easy one. If we could have a Star Trek technology today, and I'm going to say, I think I'm going to probably exclude the medical stuff because for me, that's just a given. That's a given. I would take that in a heartbeat. So outside of the medical, what other Star Trek technology, if we could have today, would you want?
I would 100% go with replicators because I think once you get an effective replicator, the sky's the limit because
Yeah.
society could benefit so much from that. You wouldn't have to worry about like processing of medical supplies. So it technically does like
Yeah.
branch into that, but it's like
Yeah.
you wouldn't
Exactly.
have the need for like you wouldn't have poverty anymore. It would just be a
Hmm.
matter of like societal growth. And then we already are working on like spaceships and stuff. So if
Yeah.
replicators aren't an option, I'd go with warp speed because man, we need to separate on the planet and give everyone their own little planets. And
True. See, and I go back and forth between obviously warp speed and like a transporter for me.
yeah,
Which if you have replicators, you could probably would transporters would probably be just right in there, and that would be right involved with that as well. And it's just because I just would love to be able to go places and be there in like 5 seconds instead
I
of
remember though, I saw a video, I think it might have been CPC Gray on YouTube, where it's like the transporter is just a mass killing machine.
I've heard I
So I'm
know.
like, I'm in the Dr. McCoy camp of I'm going to take a shuttle. Thank you very much.
I know. I've seen that too. Unfortunately, yes, you're literally being destroyed, and yeah, it's with our current science, it is not going to happen. So yeah, or maybe we'll come up with some wormholes or some portals or something that you just
Yeah,
walk through that doesn't like completely obliterate your molecules. But you're the second person that said replicators, and I don't know why I hadn't thought about that, but it makes sense for all the reasons that you said. Because of like, I mean, hell, just look at Caretaker. The fact, I
yeah,
mean, the very first episode of Voyager, and they replicate all that water for
yeah,
the Kazon,
yeah,
and and it makes so much sense because they could literally make all of those stuff, the supplies, the everything they need to live, as long as you have the energy and the power to do it, you can.
yeah,
Oh yeah, and I would say replicators, and also, and this also falls back into the space is, you know, fusion, like fusion power. We've got to
yeah.
get that if we want to
Oh
get
yeah,
to Mars and back in a reasonable time. Uh, Nuclear, even it doesn't have to be fusion, even just nuclear powered rockets. We've got to have those
yeah.
um, to get there. And so, I don't know. And I guess that's something I was going to say when we were talking at Trek to Dallas. I was talking with our concierge for our group, and we were waiting for one of our meet and greets to start. And we were all just sitting there, just chit chatting. And somehow we got onto the topic of will to get to the vision that Gene had for humanity, of where we have no more war, no more poverty, no more we've defeated, not completely defeated disease, but we're not trying to strangle each other on a daily basis. you know would we have to have that hard reset like
Mhm,
they predicted, with the world basically obliterating itself? And
mhm.
we did go back and forth on what it would be, but we still kind of felt like maybe not nuclear, but we felt like the group kind of felt like there's going to have to be something major to try to get us all on the same page.
Yeah. No, I talk about it with my co-anchors. I'm like, when the aliens show up, it won't be like us versus us. It'll be us versus them. And then that'll cause unification on Earth, which unfortunately will probably cause more problems for us because then we have the aliens that we take off. But like that's
Yeah.
my only way of getting everyone together is if the aliens did show up. Because the
Yeah.
people in power and the governments would just be freaking out that they lose power. But it's like,
Well, yeah. I mean, absolutely. Um, so I don't know. I think that would be. It's going to take something to that level. And lately, there has been a lot more activity recently. I don't know if you follow how much you follow on all that. The alien world. I'm on. Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
follow it. I'm an
Yep.
angry astronaut. Some other stuff. All the orbs that have been showing up. In like New Jersey and other parts of over in UK. There's been a lot of things happening lately. So I don't know. Let's see
I
what
would
it
love it
is.
if the aliens Shut up. Personally, this is a broadcast for any of the aliens. I do the weather. Come pick me up.
Right.
I would
Oh, hell yeah.
love to be a liaison between the two species.
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah,
just
I
weird
just
enough to
hope
make it work.
oh god. Yeah, I don't know, I would hope that, if we ever do meet anybody, they don't come in like the ones from, Independence Day and just try to wipe us off the
Yeah.
earth, which is a good movie, by the way. I mean, I like it a lot.
My
Um,
personal idea with the aliens is like it's either going to be the Vulcans and they're super high tech and they're the cerebral type, or they're like, all right, well, this planet has resources and it already has people to get those resources for us, so let's just make them work for us. It's like, that works.
I will see you here on the other side here in a couple of minutes, in about 30 seconds, and we will wrap it up for now. I'll talk to you later.